We're YouTubers.
And that means we rely heavily on reliable internet service.
So today we're going to answer the questions, is the Starlink RV plan reliable? And what kind of speeds can you expect in a heavily populated waitlist area?
Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are two crazy campers.
After losing a combined weight of more than 200 pounds.
We realized we had so much more energy for activities.
Come along with us as we explore the great outdoors.
And join us on a brand new adventure. So today's video is not coming to you from Eleanor, obviously. We're actually in the studio for our other YouTube channel, Two Crazy Ketos, because like we said, we're YouTubers and we rely heavily on the internet, both when we're at home and when we're on the road.
Yeah, and since internet is so important for us, when Starlink announced their new RV plan, we jumped on board and ordered a system.
So I'm gonna be very honest, I am not a techie person, and Starlink sounds like something out of Star Trek. So can you explain to me what exactly is Starlink?
So Starlink is basically satellite internet. Okay, it comes from the company called SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, or CEO, he's the CEO. And they promise to deliver high-speed broadband internet through a growing network of low-orbit, privately owned satellites.
Wow.
And when it was introduced, the RV community got really, really excited.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were gonna not be having to rely on cell towers and things like that. The problem was it wasn't available for RVs.
Oh.
You had to have the hardware shipped to an address, and then you had to lock it into that location.
Okay.
And then if you moved, you had to go onto the app and say, hey, I've moved.
Well, what's wrong with that though?
Well, first of all, it was only available in certain areas of the country, mostly up north.
Oh.
But most importantly, they were only allowing a certain number of users in each area. And what that meant was if you were lucky enough to get one of those spots before your area sold out, you were great, but you couldn't move. And people started getting around that by having it shipped to an area.
Okay.
And then they would move and say, hey, I've moved.
Oh.
The problem with that was you could possibly be moving to an area that didn't have open spots. So you had to start all over again. So it was like you went up north to like New York, like where my mom lives, you got it, and then you came down here to Florida and it says like, hey, you can't use it here because there's no open spots. But then they introduced portability.
Okay, so I probably should understand what portability is, but I don't necessarily understand it. So does the portability mean that you can use it in RVs now?
Yes and no.
Oh, that's helpful.
Okay, so portability means that you can now move it. Okay, so you can get it at your house.
It's humanly possible to move it.
And you can move it, and you don't have to worry about being locked into your house. But there's two problems. First of all, you still need to get it shipped to an area that is open. And like, for example, where we live, we're in a waitlist area. So you can't get it shipped to us. Secondly, when you do get it shipped to your address, you're now locked into your area, but you can move. For example, let's say we go to the Keys.
Yes.
I don't have to tell it we've moved, but when you're on the road, your service is going to be deprioritized. So you're not going to get the same speed you get at home. And also the portability feature is an extra $25 a month.
So what is the RV plan and how is it going to be different?
So the RV plan is kind of like the residential portability plan. And it's the same price. So it's $135 a month.
Okay.
It's going to use the same exact equipment that you would get for the home one. The difference is the service is now always deprioritized if you're in a waitlist area.
Okay.
Or pretty much always deprioritized.
Right.
So you're never going to get top speed. You're always in like a deprioritized state where you're going to probably get lower speeds. So people who have residential service are going to get better speeds.
All right.
And then the RVers get leftover. It's kind of like what happens if you ever had, like on your cell phone, they give you an unlimited data cap.
Yes.
But then you use a whole bunch of it, and what they do is it's unlimited, but you only get top speeds for like, say, 5 gigabytes. And then they slow you down sometimes to like unusable speeds.
So why in the world would you want this service? Because it really doesn't sound like it's worth it. It sounds like very stressful to me.
The reason it's good, the reason I bought it, is because now you can order it right now. So like, we cannot get residential Starlink at our house.
Okay.
But we can get the RV service. I don't want to wait till 2023, which is what they're saying we were going to have to wait till. Also, with the RV plan, you can pause it. So if you're like a seasonal RVer, you can like only have it for 4 months and then press pause and not have to pay the monthly fee every month.
But is it going to work here in Florida? I mean, we have a lot of people here and we get a lot of RVers. Is it going to be speeds like dial-up? Because I do remember that. Do you remember the dial-up noises like?
Believe me. I mean, I've been around since before the internet when you only had the AOL. But that's what we're going to find out in today's video. Our system got delivered and I'm going to set it up here at the house and we're going to test it to see what kind of speeds do you get in a heavily populated waitlist area.
Now, I think we should say that this is not a sponsored video.
No.
We purchased the Starlink setup and are paying for the monthly service with our own money. Now, I do have a question. Are you planning on replacing our current Comcast with it?
Honestly, I don't know. What we're gonna have to do is find out what are the speeds and also how reliable are they really? I mean, is it like sometimes you get a really good speed, sometimes you don't get a good speed? I also need to check on like the weather, because remember when we had DirecTV, you know, you'd lose the satellite every time it rained.
I was gonna say, is it like, well, what was the other one? Was like Dish Network, was that it?
Yeah.
Where it was like, yeah, if it rains, and it rains in Florida a lot, no TV for you.
Yeah, so the plan is set it up, test it out for a couple weeks, and then make a decision of what we're gonna do with it. Okay, let's see what's inside the box. Plastic. Here's our dish. Here's the cable. Here's the router. And here's the plug. So this is the stand they give you, but I'm not going to use it. We're going to go ahead and mount it right up on our satellite dish. We did order one of these pole mount adapters off of the Starlink website. I feel like they charge a lot of money for what it is. It's literally just this simple little piece of metal with some screws for it. But I felt like it was going to be the easiest way to put it onto the old satellite dish mount. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on here and then we're gonna put it up onto the roof. So it looks like it's pretty simple to put on. There's a little notch on the inside and you just have to line it up with this little button on the outside, and it's just as simple as putting it in like that and it'll lock in. Now it does allow you to run the cable on the outside or down through the pole. We're gonna leave it on the outside because we're gonna be taking this off and on whenever we go RVing. Okay, one thing to note, the cable that it comes with, at least mine, it came attached to the satellite dish already, but you do need to disconnect it from here before you even put it into the adapter, and only one way can be fed through the wall. Sorry about my hands, I was feeding it through the screen here. But yeah, so once you do it, you're just gonna kind of push it back up in and it goes in place, and then we can go ahead and put this piece back onto it. And it locks in place. Now we can go ahead and put it up onto the satellite mount. So it's kind of nasty out, so this is actually good because we'll be able to see like how does this work in the rain, but it attached pretty easily to this satellite mount. So we're gonna go ahead and run the cable inside. Right now we're just gonna do it loosely to go ahead and give it a test. Before I drill another hole in the wall, I can always come back out and grab the cable to go through the wall. Okay, I got the Starlink installed. I'll show it to you in a second. I went inside, I hooked up the router, I turned on the app, it created the network, and right now it's telling me that it is analyzing the sky and that it could take up to 12 hours. I don't know if that's normal, we're gonna have to wait and see. The issues that I may have is, if you can see, there's the Starlink right now. It is pointing straight up and there's a tree there. Now, the tree is not over the Starlink currently, but that tree is dead north. So when I go on to like analyze the sky, it says there is like a 3% blockage. So we're gonna wait and see, what the app says after 12 hours. If I have to, we'll move this entire amount over to the other side of the house where there is no tree facing north. But I'm waiting to see what happens. That's why I didn't run the cable through the wall right now. So we're gonna wait the 12 hours to see what happens, but I did come over here to the other side of the house to see, are there any obstructions pointing north? And it doesn't look like they are. Like, I could mount the satellite right here on the corner of the house, and the RV there is due north. There's some cables there, but based on where I would put it, those wires would not come into play. So we'll wait and see what happens for tomorrow. That pole has been on the house since before we bought it. So it wouldn't be a big deal to move. It's just another obstacle, but we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll luck out and it'll say it's completely fine. So let's talk a little bit about the Starlink RV plan and what our experience has been with it so far. So we've had it here at the house for a couple of weeks now, and I have to say, so far, I'm pretty impressed with it. I mean, I'm really impressed with it. Before I get into that though, let's talk a little about the installation. And I don't want to go into too much detail with installation because there's plenty of YouTube videos about how to install it. And it's also a pretty basic installation. What I really want to focus on in this video is the RV plan itself, because this is something that anybody can get. And since they do say that they're going to deprioritize you, like, are they going to throttle you so low that it's unusable? That's what we were trying to figure out. So when I first got it, I installed it. I couldn't get it to work right away. It took about an hour after I set it up before it would ever even start working. I mean, the screen on the app was saying it was collecting data on obstructions, but I wasn't getting actual service. About an hour later, I did get service. It was working really well. And according to the Starlink speed test, I was getting about 150 megabits per second download speed and 13 megabits upload, which honestly is pretty impressive considering it was supposedly being throttled. The next morning I got up and I tested it, and it was still between like 130 to 150. Now, one downside is you have to have a wide view of the sky. And I didn't realize like how wide of a view you had to have. You've seen this on the internet, and people are like, you have to have a wide view. And I looked up and I'm like, okay, I have a wide view, but I didn't realize like how much it's looking for, because we have a tree in the front and I didn't think that was going to affect it at all. But the app did keep saying that I was going to experience an outage. I think it said I had like 95 or 90% coverage, and it was saying I was going to experience an outage like every 20 minutes, but I never did notice it. If it was happening, it was probably for a second or two, and I didn't notice it, and I even did a live stream with it. Over the next week though, I did measure the download speeds on several occasions, and the lowest that I ever got was 40 megabits per second download speed. And I reached as high as 282 according to the speed test app, which brings up something else. I noticed that on a consistent basis, I would check it on the speed test app within Starlink, and then I would also test it using the regular speed test app. And consistently, the speed test app was saying I was getting faster download speeds than what Starlink was saying. So I don't know what to think of that, but it was pretty consistent, anywhere between 20 to 100 more using the speed test app. Now, I also tested it in the middle of a really heavy South Florida downpour. And if you've ever been in South Florida during the summer, you know how strong those rains can be. I mean, sometimes you can't even see your bumper when you're sitting in the car. During the storm, I was getting 136 megabits per second download and 15 upload, which again was pretty impressive for me, especially considering I remember when we had DirecTV and you would lose satellite every single time it rained. So that is something that is really important to me, because I need to have reliable internet and I need to know that it is going to work in a storm, especially if we're doing like a live stream or something. And like I said, we did do a 1-hour live stream and it worked flawlessly to the point where Rachel didn't even know what I was doing. During peak hours, I did measure it a couple of times, and it was always between like 50 to 130 megabits per second, which is again pretty impressive considering it was even giving me a warning on the bottom that I was being throttled. As a matter of fact, right now we are in the middle of peak hours, so let's go ahead and check it one more time while I'm on the phone, doing this recording. So we'll go ahead and we'll start the screen recording. So it's online. And first let's check our visibility. And you can see, we have a complete clear view of the sky with no obstructions at all. We can go ahead over now and check the speed test. We'll hit speed test. And we are getting, okay. So right at 58 megabits per second with, like, they're saying 8 megabits upload. And you can see it does say that we're in peak hours and stuff. Let's do this. Let's head on over to the regular speed test app and go ahead and check it there. There you go. Connecting. You see it does say SpaceX Starlink down on the bottom. Let's see. So here we're getting about the same as the Starlink. So that's kind of course I said it, and now you're going to get the same. But we're getting, so 53.6 upload, or download rather, and it looks like right around 11 upload. So again, like those numbers are pretty impressive. It's still like measuring the upload here. Yeah, so 53.6 download and 11.3 upload. So again, that is like really, really impressive. I have to say, so far, I'm really, really happy with the RV Starlink at home. Now, considering we're in a populated waitlist area, I think these speeds are really, really good. It's really nice that you can actually pause this service too. I think that's a huge benefit. But I will say that I'm probably not going to use that feature because we try to go camping every other week. And the way that feature works is once you activate it, you have to pay for the entire month, which means I'm pretty much going to always have it active. I do think that service is going to be really beneficial if you are a seasonal RVer though. If you, like, for example, don't camp during winter months where you can have it active only during the summer, I think that will make it, like a really good perk for having the RV Starlink over the residential with being able to take it with you. Now, as far as our home internet, I don't think I am ready yet to replace our Comcast internet. Aside from the fact that we have like the gigabit download speed with Comcast, the upload is only 30, but I don't think I'm ready to replace it because, first of all, I'm not quite sure about the whole storm thing. I've seen it during one storm, but I would have to consistently see that I'm going to get service in the middle of a storm. Now, if I was able to get a residential plan, I might consider it because that means that I wouldn't have to worry about the speeds as much. But again, I've seen like huge variations from 50 megabits per second all the way up to 280 megabits. That's like a huge variation of what my speeds are. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to use the RV Starlink as a backup for our house so that if my Comcast goes down, which it does go down a lot, we'll have like a backup. And then we're going to take this with us on the road. So the next time we go RVing, we're going to actually take the whole dish with us. I think I figured out how I want to mount it. I'm going to also bring the little tripod stand, and then we're going to show you how we use it in the RV and test how good is it on the road. Now, as for the downsides, I have 3 of them. First of all, the initial cost is expensive. You have to pay a lot of money for the equipment, and it's proprietary, which means you can't even use your own Ethernet cable. Also, if you want to hook it up to like your own modem so that you can have a bunch of wired connections, you have to buy a special adapter. Now, there are people who are making their own cables, but it does void the warranty. So that's something to be aware of. Also, the service itself is a lot of money. It's $135 a month. And unless you're going to use the internet a lot, that is a lot of money. I mean, for us, we use a tremendous amount of internet, but I don't think most people are going to use the amount we have. You're also going to have some kind of a cellular backup if you're using this for your RV, because there's going to be times where you don't have the view of the sky that you need. Which brings me to the second point, which is you really need to have a big view of the sky. I mean, I did not realize how much of a wide view you were going to need. And we were getting really good signal, but we did have to trim our tree in order to get that no obstruction notice. So that is, again, something to think about, because unless you go to like one of those RV parking lots that we like to call where there's no trees at all, there's going to be times where you're probably going to show up at a campground and can't get the view of the sky that you need. Now, my third point is probably my biggest concern and the biggest reason that I wouldn't make this, at least this particular plan, my permanent internet, and that is that although we were getting good speeds, who knows how slow it's going to be as more people purchase the Starlink RV plan. Right now, it's open-ended. Anybody can buy it. There's no like wait list or anything like that. And I'm a little worried that they're going to like oversell it and then like saturate the satellites. And the next thing you know, my at low 40, 50 megabit per second download is going to drop down to like 5, 6, 7, kind of like you get sometimes in the evening using your cell service, right? I don't know about you, but I've had times where I have almost zero internet on my phone or my hotspots in the evening because everybody is trying to stream a movie. And I don't want to see that happening with the Starlink too. So it is a little concerning to me that they are just selling this open-ended and we aren't really sure like how saturated they're going to make it. Now, if I was able to get a residential plan, I would probably consider switching over to having the Starlink at home because then I know that I would have like, you know, a good speed service all the time. But right now where we never know when I'm going to be throttled, when it's going to be deprioritized, it'd be a little bit hard for me to use this as my primary internet. Again, but that's because I have a home base. So let us know down in the comments section, do you have an RV Starlink? And if you do, what do you think of it? Are you getting the same results I have? Or are you getting slower speeds? Or are you getting faster speeds? Also, let us know, are you considering getting it? Like, has this video helped you make a decision one way or the other? So that's going to be the end of this video. If you like seeing videos like this, please do us a favor. Hit that like button down below. It really does help build the channel, but it also lets us know what type of videos you guys are looking to see. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and you hit that little bell button so that you are notified every time we upload a new video. And until next time, happy camping.